All right. So my name is Jennifer Martinez. I am going to be your instructor for the next 12 weeks as we navigate this course. Um, let's see, I have been in education since 2012. I have been in all different what do you call them? Jobs? No, positions. That was the word I was looking for. So I've been sim, I've been lab, I've been clinical, I've done didactic. I've been a dean, I've been a director, so I've been in a variety of different roles in education. I have been with Fortis since 2020, started just after COVID. Um, and then in January of last year, I relocated. I was in Virginia. I relocated to Texas. So I was at a campus. So I was at the Richmond campus. I was also at the Norfolk campus. And then I transitioned to online when I moved to Texas because we don't have a campus down here. Actually, the closest campus is in Houston, which I'm in San Antonio, so a little bit too far to drive. So I've been online for a little over a year now. So, and I love it. I love teaching. That's my favorite thing in the world. I do still work in long-term care, or I did still work in long-term care. And so long-term care, I know, is one of those things you either love it or you hate it. I love long-term care. I've been in long-term care since I started as an LPN 26 years ago. Um, it's just, I'll be honest with you. When I was in nursing school, I was like, I'm never going to work in a nursing home. It's horrible. I hate it. And I started, Jasmine, I'm going to add your last name, okay? Hollins, correct? Okay. Um, and because when I was in nursing school, I was like, oh, these places are horrible and da 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 da. But I started in nursing of course, just as they were transitioning LPNs out of the hospital. So of course, guess where I ended up? In long-term care and fell in love. I love my older people. I love the feisty ones even better. I don't do I do long-term care and I did long-term care for a long time, but um, I do mostly rehab skilled patients. I get bored easy, so I like the change. Not having to work with the same patients all the time. So I do like that little bit of change. Even though I work in one facility, I still like the change. You don't always you have different things too. Um, so I work with, a lot of post-stroke, heart attack, hips, knees, ankles, um, cirrhosis, things more of an acute nursing. So that's what I love. And I do love my little dementia patients because you always get dementia patients regardless of what part of long-term care you work in. Um, and so I love them too. They're some of my favorite ones. And like I said, feistier older ones. They're just more fun. They keep you on your toes. But I've also done pediatrics. I did peds for 5 years. I love them too. Um, just, in some ways it's very similar and in some ways it's different. Especially when you're dealing with dementia patients, the mentality sometimes is very similar to a toddler. So it makes it easier to work. It makes it easier to work with them as well. What else about me? So I've been a nurse for 26 years. I started off as actually a home health aide, worked my way up. So the home health aide, a CNA, LPN, then I got my RN, my BSN. I did it one step at a time. Still trying to figure out why, but I figured that was the best route for me to go. Um, I'd always wanted to be a nurse ever since I was younger, um, just because of some tragedies that happened in my past.
Oh,
Um,
that
and
happened. Did it again.
so I was like, but what if I hate it, right? Because you never know, right? You may go into nursing and be like, just because you want to be a nurse doesn't mean you're gonna like it. So I started off as an LPN to get my feet wet to see how I would like it. And here we are 26 years later. I do have my master's in nursing with a postgrad in healthcare education. I have my master's in healthcare administration, and I am currently working on my doctorate degree. And hopefully, God willing, I will be done in June of 2027. I did drop out for a little while, um, just for personal reasons, but now I'm ready. I think I'm ready. And, working with students and watching everything that you guys go through, I was like, if they can do it, I know I can do it as well. So you guys are also a inspiration for me as well as I continue my education. And of course, my goal is always to be a better educator for my students. Um, and so kind of why I do what I do. Um, let's see. I don't know. There's really not much else about me. I have a Lego collection. I love Legos. I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd. So, yeah, love Harry Potter. So I have some Harry Potter Legos behind me. Um, and then scattered throughout my house. I need shelves so I can put all my Legos up, but we'll get there eventually. I've been here a year and really haven't even finished like decorating and stuff. So still have plenty of time. Let's see, we still got some more coming in. Good. Um, all right. So we do have plenty to do today, even though it's orientation week. So I'm gonna run through the orientation PowerPoint. Um, and I just got your text message, so I apologize. All right. So we'll start with, like I said, we're going to start with our orientation PowerPoint. Let's see. Somebody has something playing in the background. If you could mute yourself, that would be awesome. And then Latosha and Dynasty, can you please turn your cameras on?
My camera's on
Camera's
another
on another
one.
one. Oh, you're on your device. I apologize. So I see it now. Okay. All right. So I will share my screen. Oops. And I know this PowerPoint is in your announcements, but can everybody see my screen? All right. So All right, so online learning, just a brief overview of online learning, right? You're using your computer, your internet, you're participating in an educational program. It allows me to interact with you throughout the course using the variety of the online resources that we have, and I will provide your guidance. I will lead the learning activities. I will also provide feedback to your about your progress. You will have weekly homework assignments and learning activities. There's also quizzes and exams, and we'll go through those after the PowerPoint. So you will be required to complete your coursework every week. And one of the coolest things that I like about teaching online, um, is you do get to meet students from other Fortis campuses, right? There's a lot of Fortis campuses spread out over quite a few states. And so you do get to meet students from other campuses and things like that. Um, for any issues regarding computer access, course questions, grading concerns, please start with me. You have my contact information in your modules. There's a section has my name on it. It's got my contact information in there. My email address, my Zoom link, my phone number is there for you guys as well. And then, if you have any concerns that or something that maybe I can't answer or help with, um, the course lead, and I don't know if I did, but I will check. I will provide you the course lead information. Her name is Cheryl Burke. And then, of course, we have the online dean, who is Dr. Brown, and her contact information will always be listed there for you as well. Any issues with on ground, whether it's your lab, sim, or clinical regarding this course, that will need to be directed to your campus dean. Um, Communication, I mean, I expect and, make sure that you're courteous, you're positive, and you're respectful. Be mindful how you express very humorous or even emotional statements. Try to keep our comments and our conversations directed towards the topic that we are discussing, and always be considerate of others' experiences, feelings, and perspectives. It's one thing about, everybody has an opinion, everybody, has their own experiences, right? And a lot of times we can learn, right, from other people's experiences. Always use proper language and titles, no slang. And when you're typing messages, please don't type in all caps, right? That does give the impression that you are yelling. Um, must be appropriately dressed and groomed, right? Clean professional appearance, no pajamas, no see-through clothes, revealing clothing. So be mindful of low-cut blouses, tank tops, things like that. If students don't maintain that policy, we will revert back to the campus classroom policy of uniforms. Everybody here is appropriately dressed, although a lot of you are in scrubs. That's fine. But just be mindful, just be, cover up. Um, the inappropriate use of legal substances such as vaping, tobacco, marijuana, edibles, alcohol, and certain prescribed medications as determined by the Dean of Nursing is prohibited and will not be tolerated under any circumstances. So you can't vape, you can't smoke or use tobacco products, including oral tobacco, and using marijuana while in uniform, including after school activities and while in public. It just promotes a negative image of a healthcare program. You're also forbidden from using these products while in your street clothes on campus or at a clinical site. And so basically, no smoking, vaping, chewing tobacco, drinking any of that while you are online with me. Um, we have a schedule, so we will meet every Monday from 3 to 4:41. I know it's an odd time. These are mandatory live sessions, just like your campus classes are. So you must be online at 3 o'clock for every Monday. So standards of professional conduct, academic integrity. So all incidences of academic dishonesty and any violations of academic integrity will be disciplined. Okay, so cheating is a big one. Absolutely. You do your own work. Okay, submit your own work. Avoid any of those, temptations to cheat. Plagiarism is another one. Um, and so even though with this class there isn't any real opportunities for you to submit, papers and things like that, just be mindful with your other classes. Plagiarism is something that can occur. And so making sure that if you are using somebody's, if you're writing a paper or doing something that you are properly citing, that you're not copying word for word from any sources, or even copying the work from another student. Any unauthorized use of notes or materials in exams, including talking to other students, forging or altering assignments, unpermitted collaboration, right? So giving or receiving aid on a take-home exam or other academic assignments. Again, do your own work. That's the best way for you to avoid any academic integrity issues. Don't allow others to copy or use work that is not his or her own. Don't give somebody else the answers to an assignment. Again, do your own work. Sites that promote cheating. So use of these sites does not promote honor, ethics, or integrity, and we are monitoring those sites. So being found on these sites will place you on heightened monitoring of your work for any academic integrity violations. You also cannot reference or submit work found on these sites that will result in a 0 for your assignment. A second incident involving the sites will, of course, or will result in a course failure. Utilizing these sites, whether you're posting or you're downloading, that will put you at risk of being dismissed from the program because your campus and administration will be involved. So if they're not listed in your student resources, don't use them. That's just the best way to help it. These things like Sudoku, Course Hero, Stuvia, there's a variety of different websites out there. Honestly, the best thing that you can do is just not use them. Artificial intelligence may only be used as approved by instructors on selected assignments. And so when you submit any AI generated assignments, you must submit your original work along with the AI enhancements when it's being submitted for grading. So you can't just use the AI generated assignments. You have to submit both. You won't have that opportunity here in this class. We won't be using any AI generated assignments as, just with the assignments that you have here. You won't, oops, so sorry. I was pulling this syllabus up and did not realize it was going to pull up over there. So you won't have the need for that. Code of Ethics. So the American Nurses Association Code of Ethics. The Code of Ethics serves the following purpose. It's a succinct statement of ethical values, obligations, duties, and professional ideals of nurses individually and collectively. It is our non-negotiable ethical standard. It is an expression of nursing's own understanding of its commitment to society. And, when we look at any kind of cheating, plagiarism, unethical behavior, it does violate the American Nurses Association Code of Ethics for nurses. All right. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. All right. So late work. Okay. All of your assignments, including your quizzes, because your quizzes will be done on your time. They will not be done during class time, need to be submitted on time. All right. So all of your due dates are all in Canvas. The assignments will open up on Sunday. You have until the following Sunday to submit. And then you do have that, I guess, 7-day late period. Okay. So please submit all of your work on time. If it is submitted 1 to 7 days late, it will result in a 10% deduction. Anything after day 8, it will result in a 0 for the assignment. However, what I need you to understand is if you are going to submit something late, you have to notify me prior to. Okay. So for whatever reason, you need to let me know that you're going to turn this assignment in late. Otherwise, that 0 will stand. You will keep a 0 for that assignment. All right. Your internet goes out. You have a family emergency. Let me know ahead of time. Hey, I can't submit this assignment. You have my phone number. You have my email address. You can message me through Canvas. You can call, you can text, whatever it is that you need to do, but you need to let me know prior to. If you do not let me know, you will get a 0 for that assignment. Okay. So you have to let me know ahead of time. Or even if, let's say, I know procrastination is a real thing, okay? I'm in school too. I know about procrastination, okay? Say you sit down at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night and you're like, I gotta get my homework done and my internet goes out. Let me know. Send me an email, send me a text. Hey, Miss Martinez, my internet just went out. Don't know when it's going to be back on, okay? So let me know ahead of time if you are going to submit something late. Attendance. So attendance is only recorded during our live session times. So you log in at 3, you log off at 4:41, you will get attendance for the course. Obviously I took attendance when we logged in today. To be counted as present in class, you must sign in with your full name. And if you don't know how to fix your name, just let me know because I can change it on my end for you. Be on camera the whole time. Camera not pointed to the ceiling. I don't want to just see your forehead. I want to see your beautiful faces. Okay. Um, if you are at work or driving, you will be removed from the session. Okay. You can't be at work. You can't be driving your car, can't be out to dinner or out to lunch, whatever time it is in your area with your friends. Okay. On campus, at home, in a library, those things are okay. Anyone not coming on camera after being asked to will be removed from the session. If I remove you from the session, you will not be able to re-enter the session. So be mindful of that. Um, I am recording in a mode where I can see all of you so that when the recording comes up, you will have the gallery view of everybody. So be able to verify if there is any mistakes made, we can verify that way. Additionally, Zoom I will have a log at the end of the course, and that is how I will verify your times because it will log anytime you log in, log out, it will be up on that log. Attendance missed is in 15-minute increments. All right. So if you're 5 minutes late, you're missing 15 minutes of class. So do be mindful of that. If you log out 5 minutes early, that's still 15 minutes. So 15-minute increments is how your attendance is posted. Anyone not posting 14 days in a row will be dropped without notification. So if you miss 2 classes in a row, then you will be dropped from the course. And there is no makeup for missed attendance. Okay. So again, as long as you're in class, you'll get attendance, stay on camera. You do it, stay the whole time, you will get attendance. Let's just say, as an example, um, something happens, you have to miss an exam day or exam days I'm going to use as an example, just because if you miss an exam for an emergency reason, you don't get attendance for that day. All right. When you make up that exam, you still don't get attendance for that day. Okay. There's no makeup for missed attendance. Um, and we'll talk about missed exams. Hopefully, we don't ever have that issue, but we will talk about that. So again, attendance is taken by the instructor. It's turned over to the registrar before the end of the class day. So as soon as we log off, I will post attendance. Any early departures, tardies, class cuts will be recorded in quarter hour in absences. So let's say um, I don't know, Silly, you have to log off for some reason during the class and log back in, that those will be logged within 15-minute increments. Attendant records are maintained by your registrar as part of your permanent academic record. Chronic absenteeism in excess of 20% of the scheduled courses or schedule hours for a course may receive a failing or reduced grade for the course. Okay, so if you exceed your 20% absences, you could potentially lose a full letter grade. All right, so be mindful of that. Try to make it to all of your classes. So I jumped ahead, apologize. So students who are absent for more than 20% of the time will receive a full letter grade deduction at the end of the term. And so again, attendance is put in every week. Any student who is at 5% scheduled absence will receive an email through Campus View notifying you that you have 5%. At 10%, you will be required to meet with the instructor as well as the course lead. And then at 15%, you will be required to meet with your campus administration. And so the level of intervention will be relying upon the amount of time missed, and you may not receive all levels of warning prior to missing the 20%. So even though this is what we try to do, it may not happen. Just be mindful. Again, try to make it to class every week. Other learning activities, tutoring. Okay. All instructors offer tutoring. So if you looked at the syllabus cover sheet, you see that I have office hours. Okay. Office hours are there if you want to pop in and you have a question, or if you want tutoring. If those office hours are not convenient for your schedules, please reach out via email, and we can determine a time that works best for us. Most of my classes are in the afternoons and evenings, so I'm pretty much wide open in the mornings, until about class starts at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 3 p.m. Eastern, which is 2 for me because I'm in Texas. I'm in Central Time. So usually any mornings I am available. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I don't have any classes. So my availability on Tuesdays and Thursdays is a little bit more open. So again, if my office hours don't work for any tutoring and you want additional help, again, please reach out to me and we can find something that's convenient. Students that participate in interventions tend to have higher testing scores. So, you're going to be offered test reviews or exam reviews by multiple instructors throughout the term. Can't remember, there's 5 or 6 of us that teach this course. Okay, so there's going to be multiple opportunities for you to attend live exam reviews. Highly recommend them. They're not mandatory, I will tell you that. Highly recommended that you attend the exam reviews. Again, there's 5 or 6 of us that offer, that will have our exam reviews. They will all be recorded, just like your classes are going to be recorded. They will all be posted in the announcements. So as the recordings come in for the exam reviews, they will be added to in the announcements, and you will have access to them so that you can review prior to the exams. Course and assignment grades. Weeks 1 through 5, only grades that you are going to see are KGA, which is going to be basically just your exams, okay? Because all of the rest are your other KGA is going to be, well, your KGAs are going to be your exams and your HESI, your quizzes, your lesson assignments, your professionalism grade. Those are all homework grades. So again, really not going to see anything with your KGA until you have exam 1. All right, so that's when you'll see what your KGA will be. So again, week 1 through 5, all you'll see is KGA. In week 6, I will turn your homework grades on. All right, so that will show you what your grade is going to look like with your homework added in. And then week 8, we'll go back to just KGA. All right, so you'll just see what your KGA is. Um, And then the homework scores or the homework grades will then stay off until after HESI. So when HESI happens, hi Desiree, can you add
Hi.
your last name on your iPhone? Because I
Yeah,
need a
I was in the wrong Zoom meeting this whole
no.
time.
Oh
And I don't have a
no.
schedule, so I was trying to scramble and figure out where I was supposed to be. So I'm sorry I'm late, but I was
Okay.
in another instructor's Zoom.
So you are getting orientation regardless, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you need me to do? I'm sorry.
No worries. Just add your last name.
Where do I do that? Just on the pencil?
Yes,
Um, I don't see
that's all right. I can do it. What's your last name?
Galvan Figueroa, so G.
Hold
uh,
on.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, G.
A L as in Larry, V as in Victor, A N, and then a space. F as in Frank, I, G as in George, Ueroa. I apologize for being late.
It's fine. Thank you though.
Hmm.
All right, you're good to go. All right.
Thanks.
So yes, again, week 1 through 5, you're just gonna see your KGA. Like I said, you're not gonna see a change until we do exam 1. Week 6 through 8, your homework grades will be added in there so you can see that. And then after that, we're gonna turn it off. Then once everybody has completed their HESI, and has done their remediation, I will turn the homework grades back on so that you can see what your actual grade will be. Now, with that, your combined score on exams and HESI must be a 78% before any credit is given for homework. Okay. So your grade on your exams and your HESI have to average to a 78%. So a minimum of 78% is required for successful completion of the course. Now, if you're at a 77, your homework grade is not going to be affected. It's not going to affect your grade. Your grade at the end will be a 77. If you are at a 78, then I will add your homework grades in, and that, of course, has potential to bump up your grade. So, with that being said, be very mindful of your assignments. Complete all your assignments, all your quizzes. Um, maintain your professionalism throughout the course. All right. And those are only going to benefit you at the end. For exams and quizzes. All right. So this is where, is this your guys' first online course?
No.
No. Okay. So for exams and quizzes, you're going to have two devices. Okay. So you're going to have your laptop, and then you are going to have some other device so that you can be on Zoom. Most people use their phone. All right. So you're going to use your laptop to take your exam, and then you'll have your phone as, to be on Zoom. Make sure that they are charged or that you have them plugged in on a charger, because if you go off camera while you are taking the exam, you will get a 0 for the exam. Okay, so I'm going to say that one more time. If you go off camera during an exam, you are going to get a 0 for that exam. So make sure everything is charged or at least plugged in so that you have a charger, so that you can stay on camera while you're taking your exam. Exams are scheduled. They are given through ExamSoft. So again, you're going to log into Zoom on a second device. You'll sign into ExamSoft, and then, there is going to be a check-in process when we do exams. Okay. And then you'll make sure that you save and upload the exam, and that you look for that nice little green check mark. Do not log off Zoom, and I will reiterate this when we get to exam day, but do not log off Zoom until I say I got your exam. Okay. Even though sometimes it gives you that little green check mark, there's sometimes a delay. All right. And you don't want anybody's exams lost in cyberspace. So once that green check mark, you can, get my attention. I'll make sure that I have your exam, and then you can log off. You're only allowed one attempt at the exam. You can't stop, you can't pause and then resume. If you are having any technical difficulties during that exam, you need to notify me as soon as it happens. Okay. We don't repeat exams, so you can't repeat an exam to improve your grade. So again, if you have any issues that may impact your performance, talk to me before the exam, not after. Okay. And they are timed. So make sure that you are paying attention to your time as well. You may use the full time, not a problem. You have 75 minutes to do that 50-question exam. Use as much time as you need within that 75 minutes. Talk to us to reschedule before you test. So I'm going to tell you, really easy to get along with. All right. I am here to help you. I want you to be successful in this class. I cannot stress to you how important communication is. Okay. If you are going through anything that will prevent you from doing your best. Okay. So some examples: you're ill. Okay. You got evicted from your house. You have an emergency, whether it's a car accident, um, death of, illness of a family member, something. Okay. Don't come in and take the exam, get a bad grade, and then say, well, this is what happened. Because when you say, well, this is what happened, I can't do anything for you. If we log in and you say, Miss Martinez, can you pull me into a breakout room for a minute prior to the exam start and you tell me whatever, okay, I can help you. I can help you before you start that exam. I cannot help you after. Okay? Everybody hear that? I can help you before, I can't help you after, right? There's nothing I can do afterwards. If you have documentation, even better. I went to the urgent care. Something, here's a picture of my car that just happened. Um, or here's my bill that, I took it into the shop after I got into the accident. Um, that will avoid that 10% deduction. All right. All exams must be made up within a 7-day period. So you miss the exam on Monday afternoon, you have until Monday to take that exam. All right. It is up to you to reach out to me to say, when can I take this exam? I will send a reminder if I don't hear from you. But remember, you only have 7 days. On that eighth day, that exam score becomes a zero. All right. So please, please, communication is key. Anyone with accommodations, if you have an accommodation, you need to notify me soon as possible. Okay. If you had, just because you had accommodations last term doesn't mean we know about it. I didn't have you in my class last term, so I won't know if you have any accommodations. Any notifications less than 10 days before an exam may not be able to be granted in time. Okay, there is a process. So if you have accommodations, please let me know in an email, whatever, with your accommodation letter. Exams again will be offered during this class period. Okay, so it's not any other time during the week. It is going to be the same time as your class. Um, Not taking an exam during a scheduled class will result in an absence. Okay, again, we can't make up lecture time. You can, however, listen to the recordings. Let's say you're sick, all right, and you miss class because of an illness or something like that. All of the recordings will be posted, so you will still have access to that lecture. Exams can only be proctored, can't even say the word, with a faculty member on campus with 72-hour notice and still must be done during the scheduled class time. So let's say something happened and maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you prefer to take your exams on campus. That instructor needs to reach out to me directly. Okay. It still must be taken at the same time the rest of the class is taking the exam. All right. But I need at least 72 hours notice so that I can make sure that the instructor has access to the exam in order to be able to proctor it. Exams are Zoom proctored. Talked about that. Have to have the two devices. You must be on camera the whole time. You will need your ID. All right. As part of the check-in process, you need your school ID or you will need a government issued ID. I actually had one student show me her passport. I mean, whatever works, okay. As long as it's got your picture and your name on there. Um, when we check in to do exams, this is kind of an overview of what we're going to do. You're going to have your second device, you're going to show me your ID, and then you're going to flip your camera around and you're going to show me all around your testing area. So your desktop, your walls, all the sides of your computer, your chair, your floor. I need to see everything. Um, if your ears are covered, so you have a hat on, a hoodie, any kind of religious headgear, I need to be able to see your ears. I don't see any religious headgear. And then I'm looking for earbuds, that type of thing. So you can't have anything in your ears during an exam as well. But if you do have religious exemptions, we can talk about that. And of course, we will provide the appropriate accommodations. And I don't know what everybody's individual requirements are, okay? So this will be a one-to-one between yourselves and me. Missed exams will be held to the late work policy. Exams missed without prior notice will be a zero. So if you just don't show up for class and you did not notify me, you will get a zero for that exam. Exams missed for personal reasons will result in a late penalty. Exams missed due to an emergency will require documentation, and you will submit that documentation to the National Dean of Online Nursing Education, Dr. Brown, within 24 hours. Okay. And you have to submit that documentation prior to me being able to reschedule your exam. Again, 7 days to reschedule that exam. Again, like I said earlier, contact me before the exam if there is something that is going to prevent you from being successful. After, there's nothing I can do, right? Once you take that exam, I can't make it go away. You have to tell me before the exam, right? So that's why I said my goal is for you to be successful. I don't take any joy in having students be unsuccessful in my course, especially with care of the older adults, because it is something I am very passionate about. But you have to communicate with me. Appeals. Appeals will not be reviewed if filed more than 72 hours after grades have been posted. Okay. So, you know, you have to wait till after 72 hours, or wait, appeals will not be reviewed if filed more than sorry, I read that wrong. More than 72 hours after grades have been posted. So if you plan to appeal your grade for whatever reason, you need to appeal within 72 hours of that final grade being posted. Any appeal to retake an exam will be denied for any reason. Okay. We don't allow retakes of exams for better scores. Again, I'm not gonna, oh, do not continue or try to continue if you're having technical difficulties, let me know. So they're reviewing the log. This is something that we do in Canvas when we're testing on Canvas. Um, We are not going to be quizzing in Canvas. All of our exams are going to be in ExamSoft. Okay, but we can still look to see where you are. Again, we're not going to allow a retake of exams due to technical problems or other issues, especially if the majority of questions have been answered by the student or time has run out. Again, most do okay with the exams, but if there is an issue during the exam, you will need to let me know as soon as possible. Your HESI exam. So HESIs are given on campus. I will not be proctoring your HESI exam. So you will take it on campus when your campus schedules those HESI exams. There is only one attempt at HESI. You will have that. Like I said, the campus is going to give you an assigned date and time for your HESI all during week 11. This will be 20% of your KGA. And the benchmark is 900. Homework assignments, and I'll go through this a little bit more. Um, the lessons in SurePath cover key points from your reading assignments. So there's lessons that include text, micro quizzes, osmosis videos, assessments, all to test your knowledge of the content. I do have access to your dashboard. I'll be able to look at your performance and time spent on each lesson. Okay, so I can see how much time you are in there looking at the lessons. Activities and assessments for each lesson must be completed. You can repeat the assessment and submit your highest score up until the due date. After the due date, your first attempt will be recorded as your grade and the late policy will apply. So lesson assessments, that's 10% of your grade. You can do those lessons as many times as you want before the due date to get the best score that you can get. I will tell you though, the quizzes, you only have one chance to do the quizzes. All right. So the adaptive quizzes in SurePath cover concepts from your reading assignments. Each quiz has 50 questions. They are personalized to you. That's why they are called adaptive quizzes. Okay. So the quizzes are personalized to the student. They help you increase your mastery of the content. You can use your basic geriatric nursing textbook to research and answer the questions. Again, these are taken at home. They are not proctored by me. They must be taken in one session. So you can't log into the quiz, start the quiz, leave, and come back. It is one shot, done deal. Um, and those adaptive quizzes are going to be 5% of your grade. All right. So there are five adaptive quizzes. Each one is 1% of your grade. There are 10 lesson activities. So each one of those is also worth 1% of your grade. And then we have professionalism. So, professionalism, we know it's a key component of your success in your academic environment as well as in your future career as a nurse. So you will get a weekly assessment of your professionalism in Canvas based on attendance, communication, respect, adherence to guidelines, and then, of course, engagement and responsibility. Okay, so this is intended to help you measure your progress and identify areas for improvement. Our goal is to help or is to support you in developing your professionalism skills that we know are necessary for your future success. So professionalism is 12 weeks. So every week you will have a professionalism grade, and that will be 5% of your homework grade. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Any questions for me so far? And I know a lot of information. As far as tests and quizzes go, or I'm sorry, as far as tests go, I will post another announcement prior to exam one so that um, you'll have that information. Something I do want to tell you ahead of time because I know it's only week one, but we have until week three when you have your first exam. Get a whiteboard, a little whiteboard that you can use during your exams. Um, and to help you with math because there will be math on your exams. There's going to be math on every single exam. I put math video. I think I put him. Did I put the math video? I believe I put the. I have to look. I think I did. Put the math video in there from from Miss Bogart. She is awesome. She did a nice little math workshop. If you need additional help with math, I did not put it in there. I will put it in there for you. But if you need a little bit extra help with math, kind of let me know. I love math. And so I can help with dosage calculations. So if you do need a little bit of assistance with doses, just please reach out. I have a whiteboard. I can break it out. It's in the closet. So, but yeah, I do have that. So, my suggestion is to get a whiteboard, pen and paper, not really an option for during an exam. You will also have, the calculator that is built into ExamSoft, so that you can use that as well. Trying to think. I think that is everything for that. Any questions for me? Nervous, excited? Where are we at? A little bit of both. Okay. Um, like I said,
I'm
I'm
just ready to
pretty,
get started.
yeah, just get, yeah. And so anybody already a CNA?
It's this class. Okay.
Okay. Anybody work in long-term care? Yeah. Okay. Anybody like working in long-term care? Oh, yeah. It's like I was saying earlier, you love it or hate it. It is a lot different than working in a hospital. is everything is it's just completely opposite of working in the hospital, even, staffing, supplies, everything. And like I said, you either love it or you hate it. Personally, like I said, I love it. I love working with my older adults. It's just something that I've been very passionate about. And like I said, I don't think Desiree, you weren't here at the beginning. But when I first started in nursing, I swore as a LPN student, I was like, I'm never going to work in a long-term care facility ever. And hence they were pulling LPNs out of the hospital. And so that was my option, was to go work in long-term care. And I fell in love with it. And so primarily long-term care has been my background, but I did work in peds for a little while as well. And I love peds. Peds are great as well. Um, there are great times in peds, some really sad times in peds. So it doesn't matter what aspect you work with, what part of the life cycle that you work with, there's good and bad, right? There's happy moments, there's sad moments regarding anywhere that you work. So, all right. So no other questions. Let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and take our break. So you'll get one break. And then we'll come back. I do have some chapter one stuff to go through for this week. So we'll do that when we get back. So be back at 4:05.
And then you say yours. I said, oh, I'm connected it.
Actually, it's not funny. Not. What is this novel setup? You're putting that side with the lights here. That's on there. Like it. This. As kids, they said, it'll be funny, they said.
You need a crate to take on a cat.
Yeah, you can't put it in a lift, you just, or just take it out without, they gotta make sure that,
They can't give you a box. Shit, I need have small. That's how they cook. They want early. Y'all a break. Yeah. Won't be long. I'm saying, it's only for somebody. Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Ooh, my body's sore. My body's sore from walking like I've been working out. The poker don't play. For real. I really want to leave. My thing is off. She just over it. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I taste it. Take it out. Yeah. We gotta have two devices. Yeah. One recording, one thing. Yeah. Yeah, your thing supposed to be taped. Yeah. I think it's crazy because, like, that's what your camera for. What? To take your picture. Because it's an exam song. Ain't no camera. Oh. I say, dang. Go to Forgot to Pierce your ears for free on your birthday. Oh, and no. Give you a pair of earrings up to 1999. I'll say too, sure. You can still go.
Yes, please. Come here, hurry.
Right.
To be honest.
I have to switch that up. But is yours muted?
Yeah,
All
man.
right, so I am going to real quick, I'm gonna share, let's see. This is your syllabus. If you haven't looked at your syllabus, this is your syllabus for this course. All right. All of your program learning outcomes, your student learning outcomes, all of your references, all that good stuff is there for you. Your grade breakdown, again, you have to have that 78 in as a KGA in order to um, get your homework. And this is so your unit exams, your HESI, those are your KGA, your key graded assessments. You'll have 3 exams, those are 60% of your grade. And then you have your HESI, which is 20%. Your adaptive quizzes are 5% of your homework grade or your homework
Thank you.
grade. Your lesson assessments are 10%, and your professionalism is 5% of your homework grades. So again, please do your best, make sure all of those assignments are turned in. And then of course you have your weekly breakdown is here for you as well. So whether you're somebody that likes to use the syllabus or somebody that goes into your modules, however you want to do, this will give you kind of what is going to be expected of you over the next 12 weeks. So for week 1, we're going to talk about chapter 1 in your basic geriatric textbook, your chapter 2, which is theories of aging, and then chapter 53 in your concepts for nursing practice. So both of those books are going to be used throughout this course. And you will have lesson number 1 that is due this Sunday. And then you have an adaptive quiz practice. Adaptive quiz practice is not a graded assignment, but that is there so you can kind of see what the adaptive quizzing is like. Okay. And so if you, like I said, if you prefer, you can go through your syllabus. All of these assignments are going to open up on Sundays, so you'll have access to them for the week. So I know, some people like to use their syllabus, some like to go through the modules. The modules are great. It's going to give you what is due every week, but the syllabus will give you kind of what's long-term, like what's going to be due every week, since the assignments don't open up until that Sunday before. I'm just going to peek real quick. And so I apologize. For some reason, I posted the orientation PowerPoint twice. So I did fix that. So your week one PowerPoints are now accurate. It's not just the orientation PowerPoint the second time. I looked at that. I was like, how did I do that? But I sometimes I just look at myself and say, that's me. Um, so if you have not already, there are some of you have not. Please make sure you do your orientation quiz and your technology quiz, and get those done, and posted as well. So we are going to start. We are going to talk about trends and issues. Again, this is going to be 1 and 2 in your nursing or your basic geriatric nursing book, and then chapter 53 in your concepts for nursing practice book. So I will share my screen so you don't have to look at me. You can look at the PowerPoints. I can still see you. So we look at just your lesson learning objectives. I'm not going to go through those. But we look at, you know, um, concept connection. What's population health? Okay, so population health is the health of groups of people composed of the physical, social, and economic environments that surround them and influence their health outcomes. So you can look in your Giddens book, which is your concept book. And a population is just a group of people who share certain characteristics. Okay, so for the matters of this course, we are going to talk about the elderly population. So, a group of adults age 65 and older in a community have type 2 diabetes. That would be a population. Oops. When we look at health, health is not just a state of being free from disease, but having the ability to respond to health challenges and adapt to them, right? So, we'd all love to be healthy and happy and free of disease, okay? But when something happens, how well do we respond to the challenge? How well do we adapt? So when we look at the focal points for population health, we decide on the key indicators of health to be used to measure outcomes in a population. We assess the physiological, the social, the economic determinants that contribute to these outcomes. We invest in disease prevention, health promotion, and health protection. And I know many of you have heard disease prevention and health promotion and health protection, right? How do we prevent diseases? What are some things that we can do, right? Something maybe simply as vaccines, right? Health promotion, right? How do we promote health, diet, exercise, healthy living, right? And then protecting our health, which could also include diet, exercise, right? Your vaccines. So again, we look at, population health. What are indicators of health that we are used to measure outcomes? We're assessing the physiological, the social, the economic determinants. We're investing in disease prevention, health promotion, and health protection. We are collaborating across different sectors of society. So, healthcare, government, social services, WIC, right? All of those things we collaborate with. And we address health disparities and promote equity among all members of the population. So, oops, I'm going to skip. There we go. All right. So, these are a bunch of different terms that we can use as part of this, to when we look at dealing with the elderly population. We have gerontology, gerontics, geriatrics, and gerontophobia. So what do we think? Which one of the definitions fits gerontology? Oh, little. So is it the medical specialty that deals with the physiology of aging and with the treatment
It's
of
the
diseases?
study of all aspects.
All right. So gerontology is the study of all aspects of the aging process, including the
I'm
clinical,
sorry.
psychological, or psychologic, economic, and sociologic problems of older adults. All right. What do you think gerontics is?
Would it be the one that start with the medical specialty?
Okay, the medical specialty. All right. What about geriatrics?
Nursing care and service provided to older,
All right. And gerontophobia.
the fear.
The fear of aging.
Fear. That's
The
a really interesting word to
fear.
try to say. All right. So, yes, gerontology is the study of all aspects of the aging process, including the clinical, psychological, or psychologic, economic, and sociologic problems of older adults. Gerontics is the nursing care and service provided to older adults, takes a holistic view of aging with the goal of increasing health, comfort, and caring for older adults, sorry. Um, what was next? C is geriatrics, which is the medical specialty that deals with the physiology of aging and with the treatment of diseases affecting older adults. And then gerontophobia is the fear of aging and refusal to accept older adults into mainstream society. So, all right, myth or fact? All older adults are frail and have poor health. Is that a myth or a fact?
Yeah.
Yes.
A myth, yes.
A myth.
Most older adults live in nursing homes. Myth or
Myth.
fact?
Myth.
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 Older
Fact.
adults have higher risk. Who said fact? Older adults have higher rates of depression than younger adults. Myth or fact?
Myth.
All right,
Myth.
and
Fact.
okay. And then most older adults are poor. Myth or fact?
Myth.
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 Okay. And then the greatest fear of most older adults is loss of income.
Maybe fact.
Okay. Let's see. So yes, not all older adults are frail and have poor health, okay?
They're wrong.
Not most older adults live in nursing homes. It's actually a very small percentage when we look at it. They do not have higher rates of depression than younger adults. They don't live below the poverty line. And the greatest fear that most older adults face is the loss of independence. Okay, that is the biggest fear, is nobody wants to lose their independence. So we look at the scope of the aging population, okay? In 2018, there were 52.4 million people, 16% of the population aged 65 and older. Okay, so almost 20% of the population. 2040, which we still have about what, 14 more years. The population age 65 plus is expected to increase to 80.8 million people, which will be 21.6% of the population. That is a huge number. Okay, that's a huge number. 80.8 million people age 65 and older. So, big part of that is because of that wonderful baby boomer generation. Baby boomer generation was the largest generation up until this last generation. All right. And so they are starting to hit the lower end of the baby boomers are now just in their early 60s. Okay. So, still have a wide way or a pretty big way to go with the rest of them. Attitudes about aging. So, we look at attitudes about aging. So, an emotional prejudice or discrimination against people based solely on their age is ageism. All right, just they're older, they can't do that, they shouldn't be driving, right? All of these wonderful things. It's the dislike of aging in older people based on the belief that aging makes people unattractive, unintelligent, and unproductive. All right. So we try to be mindful of that. what do you think are some examples of ageism in our society? This is a big one. I said one, right? They shouldn't be driving. What else? What else do you think?
That they shouldn't live alone.
They shouldn't what?
Live alone.
Shouldn't live alone. Okay. Some people think they shouldn't even be working, right? Why would I hire an older person when I can hire a younger person, right? And there's, I'm sure there's plenty of other examples out there as well. Um, but and that's your age discrimination, right? This results in different treatment of older people simply because of their age, right? So, it could be, they're looking for a new job, or some of our older adults, because of income issues, they still need to work, right? They still need to bring in some money. They're not all retired. Okay. So it also can, result in them not getting a job. So we have to be mindful of that. So we look at it, someone that has 24 years of experience, right? But then we see a 24-year-old, right? And that 24-year-old gets the job over all those people that have that experience. Why? This one looks like they're a new grad, right? Um, Again, it's just because, there's a variety of different people different reasons why, this can occur. For one, if I take that 24-year-old, I don't have to pay for that 24 years of experience, right? I can hire them at a much lower rate, right? Also, looks a look at longevity in the company in some cases, not always, because now people, they don't stay in one place from very long, but right, that 24-year-old may stay with the company for 20, 30 years, right? Whereas the one that has 24 years of experience, they may not get that, right? They may get 5, 10 years out of them before they decide that they want to retire. There's a variety of different reasons that can occur. We look at gender and ethnic differences. Women currently outlive men by approximately 2.6 years. Okay. Whites tend to live longer than blacks do. Hypertension and stroke are prevalent due to genetic predisposition. We are declining with health disparities due to, improved healthcare. Still have a way to go with our health disparities, but we are working on them. It's getting better. Income and economic status. As of 2022, the median income of males over the age 65 was 37,000, while that for females was 24. Don't tell me that there isn't sex discrimination going on there or anything, right? In 2023, 9% of older adults lived below the poverty level. Okay, so that is still a concern. The major sources of income for older adults, Social Security, asset income, pensions, other earnings. I can't even say it. The baby boomer generation was probably the last generation to actually have pensions. Most companies have switched over to like 401ks and 403bs and other types of, savings plans. So that, that baby boomer generation may be the last generation to actually have like a steady pension income. Financial benefits of aging. They get more tax breaks. They have a more disposable income. They can do reverse mortgages or their homes are paid off, So if people bought a home and they stayed in that home for, the term of their mortgage, right, then their homes may be paid off. Doesn't mean that they don't have to pay taxes and other things on their homes, but at least they don't have that monthly mortgage payment. And there is the AARP, That is an organization that provides advocacy as well as resources and financial guidelines for older Americans. Housing arrangements. So there's a variety. A lot of older people still live in their homes. Okay. My grandmother, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My grandmother, on my father's side, she and my grandfather, right? They bought their house. I don't remember what year they bought the house in. It was built in 1899. It was a brownstone in Brooklyn. And she lived there until she passed away at 97. She lived by herself. My grandfather passed when I was a baby, well, not a baby, but when I was a young child. So she lived in that brownstone by herself for her whole, adult life. And she stayed there until she was 97. Now, she did have a caregiver. So, the last couple years, just as she got a little bit weaker, and it was funny because, 100% Polish. So we had to find a Polish caregiver because she wouldn't let anybody else take care of her. Okay, but she stayed in her house until she passed away. Um, there's there's assisted living centers, there's group homes, there's residential facilities, there's nursing homes or extended care facilities. It is all based on what the person's needs are. Some of the what do you call it? I guess like some of the communities, they're all inclusive. So they offer independent, assisted, as well as nursing care and, skilled care and rehabilitative services all within the same community. So as they need to transition through different levels of care, they don't have to go far. They can stay within their own community. There are subsidized housing for the older adults. There's, 55 and up communities. So there's a variety of options for the older adult. Again, they're not all going to go into a nursing home. There are specific criteria. Not every older adult's going to even qualify for long-term care. I was looking, this blew my mind. I just want you to know. I was looking the other night at the facility that I was working at. Okay. For a private room for 1 month was like $11,500 a month. $11,500 a month. For a semi-private room, oh, I wish I would have taken a picture of it now, was like I was like 9,000 a month. Isn't that crazy? For a nursing home, that is insane, the cost. And so if you imagine, I mean, a nursing home is going to be a little bit more expensive, right? Because you do have nursing care and everything is all inclusive. Assisted livings, though, are still very expensive as well as some of these independent living facilities. So cost can also be a huge concern. Oops. Medicare. All right. So Medicare is a, how do I explain this? It is a government program. It provides healthcare funding for older adults and disabled persons. Um, it is a popular program. Most Americans believe, we need to preserve it. I know I have been working since I was 13, so I've paid a lot of money into Medicare, and I hope it doesn't go away anytime soon. Okay. But it is an entitlement program. Okay. So as long as you are a natural born or naturalized citizen, and that you've paid into Medicare for 10 years, then you are entitled to Medicare. Um, it does cover some disabilities. I know for one is like people with chronic kidney disease. But again, it is something that we've paid into, or I've been paying into my whole adult life. So, a lot of people will adopt Medicare. There are different programs under Medicare. Not all of these are going to pay all of the healthcare costs. So even though, again, it is an entitlement program, it still doesn't cover everything. Part A is the hospital insurance. It covers inpatient hospital care, skilled nursing care following hospitalization, It'll also pay for some home health services like visiting nurses and OT and PT and speech therapy, hospice service, as well. But there's going to be an initial deductible as well as copayments. Medicare Part B, that covers, that's like your medical insurance. Like, so when you go to the doctor, it covers 80% of the outpatient costs after the deductible has met. This will also cover like medically necessary ambulance transport, PT, OT, speech, home health, mental health services, your x-rays, your labs, medical supplies and equipment, things like that. Medicare Part C is what we call the Medicare Advantage programs. And you may have heard, especially around like October, you'll start seeing and hearing the commercials on TV because Medicare open enrollment ends in December. So these will a bunch of different ones will like you'll see. I usually see the ones for United Healthcare. It's usually the ones, but these are Medicare benefits through private insurance companies. So they do partner with Medicare, and it helps to cover the total costs that Part A and Part B doesn't cover. And then Medicare Part D is the prescription drug plan. It's also voluntary. You have to be enrolled in Part A and Part B in order to get Part D. There is a little bit more out-of-pocket costs with this as well, but it helps to pay those prescription drug costs. And there's also other supplemental programs that, or supplemental, yeah, I guess programs that can assist. Um, a quarter of our Medicare funds are spent on services for patients in their last year of life. So that's a pretty big chunk. And of course, when we look at Medicare, and we look at older adult care, questions are being raised about the appropriateness of using intensive, expensive interventions to extend the lives of terminally ill older people, right? You know, should we provide chemo or the life-saving surgery to that older adult? Um, and this is where your advanced directives come into play. And so if you know what advanced directives are, I always suggest that people get advanced directives and make them while you're young, and you are still of sound mind. But this is, what in the event that something happens to you, God forbid, right? Um, those advanced directives will say, this is what I want. This is what I do not want, right? Don't do this. Don't do that to me. It helps, your families to make those, that if you have it laid out for them, it prevents them from having to make those decisions. So having that advanced directives, like I don't want a tube feeding, I do want a tube feeding, or I want to have, what do you call it, CPR, right? I want to be intubated, I want to be trained, whatever it is. Impact of aging. This is the sandwich generation. Okay, so the sandwich generation, right? Not only are they working, raising their own children, but they also may be caring for their parents and their grandparents as well, right? So a lot of different responsibilities that occur. So my kids were older when my mom passed away, and so they were a little, well, not my youngest, but the older ones were above 18. And I took, still raising them and taking care of my mom. And a lot of people are doing this, right? They're caring for their not only their parents and grandparents, but for their kids as well. And most people, I didn't have any issue with it. My mom's biggest thing is she didn't want to be in a hospital when she passed away. She wanted to be at home. So we did everything we could, right, to try to keep her at home and let her have her wish. But it can be stressful, right? It can be a lot, caregiver strain and burnout is a real thing. Impact of aging family members in the family, role changes in grandparenting. I think being a grandma is probably one of the best things in the whole wide world, right? Yes, I spoil the heck out of my grandkids. It's just different. You get to, it's almost like seeing your kids through your grandkids. Remind me of when my kids were little, right? Especially my oldest granddaughter, is so much like my son when he was her age. And it's a joy. Um, One of the sad things, though, that I did notice when I worked in pediatrics is the number of grandparents that are raising their grandkids. And it's for a variety of reasons, okay? We had some that their kids were incarcerated and they were raising their grandkids. Some did it by choice, because, they weren't working anymore. Their kids were working, so they chose to, be almost like a daycare provider for their grandkids. It can still be stressful, right? We still have to look at our older adults. They are changing, they're getting older. Things aren't moving as fast as they were when they were younger. So we do really have to, can still cause stress and it could be a burden. And then what happens, when that older adult gets sick? What happens to the grandchildren, right? What happen, who's going to take care of them? So there's some additional stress that is brought on by that. All right. So question. The adult daughter of an older home health client tells the nurse, I feel like my husband and I never have any time alone anymore. We love taking care of my mother, but it gets frustrating at times. Which services should the nurse recommend? So it's going to be a select all that apply question. All right. So, subacute care, assisted living, caregiver support, senior community center, or respite care. So, if we have someone taking care of their aging
Respite
mother,
care.
okay, respite care. Okay, what else?
Caregiver
CDN,
support group.
Okay,
CDNE.
C, D, and E. All right,
I
perfect.
agree.
Good job. So caregiver support group, absolutely, right? You help build connections. It's much like a new mom group, right? You have a baby and me group, right? You learn lots of tricks. You may even be able to, bring the older adults together, right? And have like a day group for them. Senior community centers and respite care. Respite care is absolutely important. Okay. And a lot of your insurance companies will cover respite care. So when I worked in long-term care, we would get respite patients all the time, whether it was for a couple of days over the weekend or for a week or two, depending on what the situation was. Gives the caregiver a break and allows for their family member to still be cared for appropriately. Senior community centers and offer a variety of opportunities as well for socialization and interaction for that older adult. There's also, on another hand, there's adult daycare programs. Okay. So if the older adult is unsafe to be left at home during the day while their caregivers are at work, they can go to an adult daycare center and then, of course, come home in the evenings and be cared for by their family members. A variety of options are available. All right, so Ella is a full-time caregiver for her 82-year-old mother, B. Everything was going well until B began wandering in the neighborhood, losing her belongings and forgetting her friends' names. She has recently been incontinent of urine and gets combative when Ella tries to help change her clothes. So what are the risks? What are some risks in there?
Getting lost.
Getting lost? Absolutely. What else?
Getting
She
hurt.
has like falling risk.
Yep, getting lost, getting hurt. Um, so yep, getting lost, getting hurt. Okay. So those are some of the priorities. So services, that are available to help with her mom, kind of like what we just talked about, right? Respite services, you know, in this situation when she's wandering, losing her belongings, forgetting her family names. We may have to look at something a little bit more for dementia type care, right, in that situation to help keep her mom safe. Abuse, abuse and neglect. Unfortunately, this is something that we do have to deal with. And physical abuse causes physical pain and injury. Emotional abuse is isolating, ignoring, depersonalizing older adults. And of course, financial abuse unfortunately occurs as well, right? Stealing or misusing resources. Neglect is not providing for the needs of the older person under their care. It could be not taking them to the doctor, not changing them, not feeding them, can kind of be a variety of different things. Abandonment is when they are deserted by the people responsible for their care. Um, not checking in, not providing that, not making sure that they have food and other, necessities. And I know everybody has probably looked at Instagram or Facebook, TikTok, whatever. There are still, unfortunately, we do have abusive behavior that occurs in healthcare settings. Physical harm, rough handling, using sedatives or psychotropic medications that are not physically necessary or medically necessary, restraints, violating their right to make decisions, using derogative language, theft of personal belongings or food. Again, like I said, you've probably seen these on TikTok and Instagram or even Facebook. This should not occur. When we look at it, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. We look at it, you know, and I know everybody's probably heard this before. You're supposed to treat these people like they are your family, right? That they're like you would want them to treat your grandparents, your aunts, whoever. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen all the time. And it's not wide. I mean, it's not everybody. A lot of people in long-term care, CNAs, LPNs, RNs, administration generally care for these people, but there's always a few, right, that can potentially um, ruin it for everybody else. Um, and we are out of time. The rest of the PowerPoint is up there for you. Oh, no, we're not. I got my times mixed up. I have 6 more minutes. Sorry, wrong one. Yeah, I thought it was 4:41. It's 4:47. Psychotropic medications. So when we look at psychotropic medications, everybody's taking pharmacology, right? So you know
Mhm.
about your antipsychotics. Generally don't like to use those in the older adult, right? Because there are greater risks. There are times, though, where psychotropics are prescribed, especially for some of our dementia patients that may have some aggressive type behaviors. Um, as long as they are medically necessary and it is documented as such, it is okay to use that. But we can't just use them because we want them to go to sleep or we want them to get out of our way because they're annoying, right? We don't use restraints in long-term care. Plain and simple. We don't have that option. We don't have the option for wrist restraints, for vest restraints. Do you know putting somebody in a wheelchair and putting a bedside table in front of them can be considered a restraint?
Yeah.
You have to be very careful. They have to be able to move that table out of the way. You can't maneuver the table so it locks behind the wheel so that they can't move it. Um, a lot of your older adults will have refrigerators with drinks and things in them for their use. Going in there and stealing a can of Pepsi out of their refrigerator because you forgot money be for the vending machine doesn't that is still stealing regardless. So we do have to be really careful. Like we had policies in place where even if an older adult offered us something, like if they were handing out candy, it was, one little piece of candy isn't a big deal, but if they had it in their room and they were like, oh, just go grab a piece, like that's different. Like, no, you really can't do that. If they handed it to you, like got to be really careful, right? We don't accept tips or monetary compensation from our clients. Um, we have to be really careful. We know that as nurses and as future nurses, we are mandatory reporters. If we witness or we suspect abuse, right, it needs to be reported. And it's not just physical abuse, it's emotional abuse, it's financial abuse. And so it is our responsibility to report these. Now, most of the time in a facility, you will have an abuse coordinator, okay? And that is who you would report the abuse to. That abuse coordinator is going to be the one to do the investigation, and if need be, then report it. So then we have to be really careful. Want to make sure that we are providing the appropriate care and we're keeping our clients safe from whatever the threat is. When we look at chapter 2, which is theories of aging. So theories of aging, these help us recognize problems in our aging patients. It also can be used to help educate our patients about what's going to happen as they continue to age. It helps us with good health and disease prevention. And there are still developmental tasks that need to be accomplished as we get older. We're not stagnant as we get older. We continue to learn, we continue to grow. And so it's really important that we encourage that and what's the word I'm looking for? We don't stop it from occurring. I'll come back to that word because I can't think of the word I'm trying to use. Biologic versus psychosocial theories. So biologic theories, those are the physical changes that occur with aging. So, the skin changes, the hair color, the hair changes, the organ changes, all of those biologic things that occur. The psychosocial, those are the social and the psychological aspects of aging. Again, that's where it's those developmental tasks. So if you remember who Eric Erickson was, I don't know if anybody remembers Eric Erickson, right? The stages of development. Okay. So, we always start with trust versus mistrust in that wonderful, infant, right? But as we get older, we have generativity versus stagnation. We have integrity versus despair, right? And we still are going to work through Erickson stages, even though we're getting older, right? There's still those tasks that we have to complete. Um, One of the other big ones is the wear and tear theory. So think of the body as a machine. All right. So you can use your car as an example, right? What do we have to do to keep our car running, right? We got to make sure the tires are good, right? That they have air and there's no holes. We have to make sure that there's oil and that we get the oil changed every once in a while, right? We have to put gas in it in order for it to go. We have to check the battery. Okay, so, same thing with the body. As the body gets older, things start to wear out, right? Can't grease it like we can a car, right? As we get older, cells, tissues, organs, they're all damaged by either internal or external stressors, right? You can see some of the changes in the skin as we get older, right? From years of ultraviolet light exposure. And enough damage occurs, the body parts overall functioning is going to decrease. Okay, so what we try to do is reduce that wear and tear. That will help us to, function a little bit better, a little bit longer. So now I am out of time. Any questions? I can talk about this stuff all day. No. All right. So week 2 next week. Please do not forget to